This video will contain huge spoilers for the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan. If you haven't seen those yet, I recommend you do that before watching the video. With that out of the way, let's get started. If you're watching this video, you probably already know that the 4th and final season of Hajime Isayama's Attack on Titan is premiering in Japan on December 7th. We here at Socratic Cinema are huge fans of the show, and I decided that, to celebrate the show entering its final stretch, I'd take a trip back down memory lane to revisit the show's very first major story arc, the struggle for Trost. If we're being honest here, this stretch of the show might be my favorite yet. Even with all the incredible action and plot development we've gotten since then, I still find myself coming back and rewatching scenes from this arc over and over. Spanning from episodes 4 to 13, the Trost arc makes up a sizable chunk of Attack on Titan's first season, and I think this arc does an excellent job of setting up the rest of the series. Its effectiveness really boils down to its ability to set the tone for the entire series going forward, while continuously delivering hype-building scenes and impactful character development. The arc really epitomizes what Mikasa so elegantly states about the world of Attack on Titan. It's a cruel, beautiful world we live in. When you think of the Trost arc, you have to put it in the context of the few episodes we've seen before it. You have the 2-part series premiere, in which we see our inciting incident, the fall of Wall Maria. We're introduced to our main characters, Eren, Mikasa, and Armin, as well as our driving motivation for the series so far: join the military and kill Titans. After that, we get almost 2 full episodes of the cast training as cadets, and by the time graduation arrives and our heroes are sent on their first maintenance post at Trost, things are looking up. Humanity started to rebuild. It's been 5 years since the first devastating attack, and since then, Eren and the gang have trained with the sole purpose of taking down the Titans. For the first time, things are hopeful. Mere seconds later, the colossal Titan appears out of nowhere, breaks down the city gate, and the struggle for Trost begins. I think the best thing that these first few episodes of the Trost arc do for the series is establishing 2 major themes throughout the show. 1, that nobody is safe, and 2, that things can always get worse. The Trost arc relies heavily on shock factor in the beginning. The colossal Titan appears out of thin air, breaks a hole in the Trost gate, then disappears. Our heroes are powerless to intervene, and are suddenly faced with a disaster that none were prepared for. As Titans fled into the city, the headstrong cadets, Eren included, dive into battle in an attempt to save the city. This becomes the moment that the audience sees the true nature of Attack on Titan, and just how much it's willing to put its audience through. Mere minutes of screen time after graduating, the cadets that we've spent time training with are slaughtered by the Titans in front of our eyes. Each death here is painfully unique and gruesome. The list of casualties grows by the second. The series shows no restraint in killing swaths of named, speaking characters who, although having a limited amount of screen time in the prior episodes, are nonetheless real to the characters within Attack on Titan. The visceral fear felt by the cadets in their final moments is presented to the audience all too realistically, in a display of helplessness that we really haven't seen in such a dire way since. What's worse than this parade of death is the fact that, for the first half of the arc, virtually nothing is gained from it. Regardless of the amount of Titans slaughtered by Mikasa and the surviving cadets, the situation remains hopeless. As the cadets finally struggle to regroup, we learn that the supply building has been taken over, and our heroes are low on gas and replacement blades. Things continue to go from bad to worse as the cast realizes just how bleak of a situation it is. Scenes of cadet members holed up in the supply building, choosing to commit suicide rather than face death at the hands of the Titans, and soldiers performing a futile attempt at CPR on deceased loved ones are burned into the minds of the audience, acting as a grim reminder that this is a cruel world we've stepped into. One without an ounce of sympathy for its characters, one that's willing to push the cast past their breaking points. In a way, it's an attack on the audience, a cry of defiance that Attack on Titan isn't your average anime. It's one in which death is both real and permanent. The Trost arc is here to break you down while you watch to the point where you have no expectations of what could be coming next, and nothing seems too crazy to be off the table. This is all brought to a peak in one of the most iconic scenes in all of Attack on Titan, when Eren Yeager, our protagonist up until now, is devoured after having his leg bitten off. Up until this point, Eren's been characterized as our typical action series protagonist, hell-bent on his one goal, willing to do anything to accomplish it. We expect Eren and the gang to save the day, taking down Titans in style, but the Trost arc is here to teach the audience from the get-go that there are no such luxuries to be found in this series. Perhaps what's even more impressive about the Trost arc is not only the guts it takes in establishing the series' tone by quite literally killing the main character, is the fact that the show commits to this stunt for quite a few episodes before the truth is revealed. Keep in mind, when the series was first airing, fans went for almost a month before finding out that Eren survived being eaten. We got to see characters mourn the loss of Eren in very real ways. Armin breaks down, unable to act, while Mikasa internalizes her grief, going on a Titan killing spree. As a direct result of the Trost arc's dedication to tone, we receive characterization that would have been impossible in any other circumstances. The fact that a show like Attack on Titan, with such a large budget and quickly growing audience, would have the gall to kill off the protagonist a mere 5 episodes in, is nothing less than shocking to first-time viewers, and really drives home the point that the world of Attack on Titan is truly a cruel one. Just as the Trost arc is able to create despair, it's also able to create what I think are some of the most beautiful and hype-inducing scenes in the entire series. As the first major plot movement in the show since the premiere, Trost has a pretty heavy burden to carry as a story arc. Not only must the writers set the tone for the show going forward, but this is also their main chance to develop characters and introduce important info before the plot gets any further. The Trost arc shoulders these responsibilities in style, pairing the traumatizing tone with beautiful character moments that have you jumping out of your seat. Mikasa's response to Eren's death is a prime example of this. Dealing with the loss of her last remaining family member, Mikasa internalizes her pain, carelessly expending the last of her resources to go on a Titan killing spree. She finds herself, much like the rest of the cadets, in a hopeless situation. Out of gas and out of options, Mikasa is left to face her emotions in her final moments, and the audience finally gets to learn the mysterious past of Mikasa Ackerman. We get to see why Eren is so important to her, and why his death means so much for her character. For Mikasa, Eren is the world. Having lost 2 different families now, Eren was quite literally all she had left. Of course, in the wake of the news of Eren's death, it makes perfect sense that Mikasa would think back to the time they met. I firmly believe that if we had this flashback dropped on us out of nowhere, it would have been much less rewarding as an audience member. It's through this memory of Eren that we see Mikasa regain her drive to fight, and further, to live, before she's saved by the mysterious abnormal Titan, who we later learn to be Eren himself. It's a beautiful moment in which Mikasa reignites her will to live, and affirms to the audience that despite the cruelty of the world around them, there's a grim beauty to be found in moments like this. Speaking of Eren's Titan form, this was arguably the hardest challenge the writers had to overcome in creating the Trost arc. They had to introduce this world-altering ability in a way that didn't cheapen the rest of the series, or put it on the level of a stereotypical secret power that so many main characters possess. Especially considering the fact that Eren was killed mere episodes earlier to make the show as bleak as possible, it would be a difficult task to bring him back in a way that didn't feel artificial. In my humble opinion, the show handled this just about perfectly within the Trost arc. The characters in the show are just as clueless as the audience is about Eren's Titan ability, and so when his Titan does initially appear, everyone's on the same page. Rather than dropping surface-level hints that would have spoiled the reveal, the show instead chooses to get out of its own way, and lets the situation play out to its conclusion. Only once we see Eren emerge from his Titan's corpse does the plot jump back in to deliver a flashback explaining Eren's experience. This becomes a recurring writing strategy for the twists in Attack on Titan. Rather than trying to lead the audience by the hand through all the show's twists and turns, it instead lets the situation play organically before delivering the important information after the fact, in case the audience members weren't able to catch on their own. From the female Titan reveal in the Season 1 finale, to the revelations of Reiner and Bert as the armored and colossal Titans in Season 2, this is an essential part of the Attack on Titan writer's toolbox that we get to see used for the very first time in Trost. The reveal of Eren possessing Titan abilities quickly becomes the focus for the remainder of the Trost arc, and concludes in what is quite honestly my favorite scene in all of Attack on Titan. Realizing that they can use Eren's strength and Titan form to seal the hole in the Trost Gate, the soldiers carry out one final effort to retake the city. It's this final battle that really settles this arc as my all-time favorite in the series. After all the hardships we've been through, characters and audience alike, this mission to seal the Trost Gate is nothing less than cathartic. The audience is left in suspense as Eren grapples to control his powers before finally taking control. Steadily marching forward, Eren holding the boulder on his shoulders strikes imagery of Atlas bearing the world on his back, a nod that I like to think is intentional, as Eren quite literally carries the fate of the world in this moment. The animation, cinematography, and character interaction of this one moment encapsulates how the beauty of Attack on Titan makes all the pain and despair worth it. Eren instantly solidifies his will to move forward with the help of his dearest friends, and affirms the fact that he is free, regardless of the world around him. Both of these truths for Eren go on to be his driving motivation for the remainder of the series, influencing many of the major decisions he'll go on to make, most especially in the upcoming final season. As he marches on, the rest of the garrison gives their all to keep Eren alive. Finally, we see Mikasa take down one last Titan standing in Eren's way before the camera racks the focus from the Titan's falling corpse to Eren shuffling forward. In this one instant, it all comes together. Hiroyuki Sawano's brilliant soundtrack swells in one of the show's most emotional tracks, Call Your Name, as Eren lets out a primal roar, slamming the boulder into the wall and claiming mankind's first victory against the Titans. The power of this moment can be felt through the art direction alone. The animation shows the sheer strength of Eren's will as he drops the boulder with enough force to send cracks all through the surrounding wall, as his fellow soldiers look on in awe at their first victory. It's a moment of beauty and emotion that, in my opinion, is unmatched. But, of course, victory isn't free. And this is still the same world of cruelty we were just in episodes earlier. The death of Marco goes down as perhaps the most impactful death in all of Attack on Titan, making waves throughout the fanbase to this day. This goes to show that even those who are truly kind and caring like Marco cannot escape the realities of the world they live in. His death serves as a final reminder during the arc's closing that though there's a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel for our heroes in Attack on Titan, the cost will be unimaginably large. I could probably write an entire essay on the mission to seal the Trost Gate alone, but I think it speaks for itself in the moment. Our heroes have faced nothing but pain and insurmountable despair for the last 9 episodes of the Trost arc, only to raise their beaten heads once again to save mankind. The mission to seal the gate really encapsulates the second half of the Attack on Titan philosophy, according to Mikasa. The world may be cruel and unforgiving, but it has moments of beauty beyond comparison. So, as we go into the final season of Attack on Titan this December, who knows what might happen? If the Trost arc has taught us anything, we can expect that nothing is off the table in terms of pain this season. But there will be moments of profound beauty to keep us moving through it all. Regardless of what happens, I think we should all take a moment to appreciate where this show started back in Trost, so that we can better appreciate when it comes to its conclusion. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to our channel, dropping a like, and a comment letting me know what you think about the Trost arc and what your favorite story arc in Attack on Titan is. Also, if you want to see more content like this in the future, please consider becoming a supporter to our Patreon. Tiers start as low as $1, so if you want to support us, please consider checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/Socratic Cinema. There's plenty of great rewards on there, like getting early access to our podcast episodes, input on what movies we talk about, behind-the-scenes content, and more. So be sure to check it out, because there's going to be lots of great content on there.